Alrighty, everyone. So this is another uh week of me trying to do a little bit of writing to push myself to write some more. I've been having some difficulties, and the whole reason I started YouTube was because this is what I wanted to do. So I'm kind of using it to, uh, well, do that, make me write a little bit more. So I haven't figured out how to get what the writing on the screen with a shared screen yet because I've been doing most of this on my phone, and that's where all my shenanigans are at. So I will just be hitting read aloud here because hearing it back helps me pick up on the story a little bit better than reading. So that's what we're going to do.
The town felt like it was holding its breath. The clock ticked away. No one was moving. Number one was saying anything. Families huddled close together, while police and military stood still on their watch. "It's here," said one of the military boys, looking at a computer. "It's smaller than it was last time. We've breached it several times. Perhaps it can't maintain its size." Within a few moments, families disappeared from each other's arms, as well as several pets and animals in the surrounding area. They found themselves pulled into a mini pocket dimension where a demon sat on a floating throne with several pets around him. "Behold my pets," he said, "it is chow time. Dig into your heart's consent, feast upon whatever venison your heart desires. As usual, I have provided you with all that you could ever want. All that we need is those pesky humans to stop trying to stop us. How dare they keep cattle and feed them, raise them, take care of them only for them to be eaten and taken the fruits of all their labors? It is not evil for me to feed humans to my pets, as they do the same to other animals."
Well, that was worse than I thought it was. Apparently, I should have hit read aloud before. Da-dum dum dum. So, I think I've deleted this story twice now and started over from scratch. Doesn't look like it's in any better of a state yet. So, the opening definitely needs to be redone. Um, that was, I don't know, 1% better than the others. I don't think I'm going to delete it yet, so that's maybe that's a positive sign, maybe it's not. Um so what do we want to do from here? What's a name for a character? Neil? Do we want to do a Neil really quick? Neil looked around. He guessed there was about somewhere between 12 and 17 people based off of his rough guess at a glance. Hmm. How do we want to retort against the demon? Do we want a legal argument or do we want a moral argument as to why it would be the way it is? And I see there's one person in the viewing it. So I'm going to assume you missed my intro. I am writing on my phone because I need speech to text and I haven't figured out how to get it on my computer yet. I'm not sure if you missed what the story was or not. Basically, they got pulled into a little pocket dimension where a demon's just feeding animals and people to his pets type of a deal. So that's what's going on. Um, so this is just artwork from my AI thing that I've been playing around with. I just have it on there so there's something visually to look at the screen since you can't see what I'm writing on. I've been meaning to figure out how to get the words on the screen, and I know somebody who could probably figure that out. I just keep forgetting to ask them. So, uh, an argument as to why it isn't okay for people to be fed to monsters. Neil replied, if we were going to go with that argument, then you could allegedly wipe us all off of the map and there would be nothing to stop you guys. And that is why we fight back, he said, pulling out a handgun and pulling the trigger. He injured one of the dogs. Here, let's go. Demonic dogs that the demon had been petting. Didn't spell trigger right. Oh, there we go. That looks like that fixed it. With that, everybody scattered. And Neil found himself running backwards, firing at the incoming threat. He ducked as a bird flew over his head, scratching his back as he scrambled to get out of the way. I haven't described what this pocket dimension looks like yet. He quickly found himself standing on an edge as he realized the pocket dimension seemed to be full of broken bits of building, mostly from stone, floating all about. Oh boy, he thought himself. With a little bit of leap of faith, he jumped off, aiming for another piece of building. He flew faster than he thought he would. Gravity seemed to be extremely light, and he came crashing into the other building. There was enough pull to any piece of earth floating around that it seemed like you could stick to it relatively easy. He looked around, seeing that other people were doing the exact same thing. He didn't have any chance to help them as the demon dogs were on top of him. He gave a kick in its direction, trying to get it out of the way. It didn't seem to do much to the dog, but it did get his leg bitten. With the dog chewing on his leg, he put the gun up to its head and pulled the trigger. And with that, the dog found itself laying in a pool of its own blood. Several of the birds began swinging down and clawing him, pecking at him with their beaks. He waved his arms, trying to get them off of him as he scrambled to his feet to jump to another piece of rock. Hmm. All right. Hmm. Another group of three found themselves going in a different direction. It looked like they had only one demonic monster on their tail. It looked somewhat like a saber-toothed tiger that had demonic aspects to it. Hmm. Names. What do we want for names? Jane found herself in the middle. In front of her was a boy she didn't know, a scrawny fellow running as fast as his feet could carry. Behind her, another person she didn't know. A tall, broad man. It seemed like he could pass her, but he kept looking behind as though he was making sure he was the last person at the end of the line. They ran past a long wooden stick laying on the ground, and the man behind her scooped it up in his hands. It looked like it had been a quarterstaff or a spear of some kind, but was now broken, being about 5 feet in length. As the tiger lunged for him, he used it to fend off the tiger, smacking it in midair, giving it enough of a trajectory to miss the two of them. Hmm. As they ran, he continued using the stick to fend off the saber-toothed tiger. It was having a mild effect, and it felt like the tiger was more of toying with them than actually being serious about eating them. Did I call her Jane? Hmm. Back in the town, the military was trying to breach the anomaly once more. With a team ready to go, all that they had to do was wait for the specialists to crack a hole in it. Hmm. All right, said Walton, the commanding officer in charge. It looks like there's two of them. One of them is smaller than the other. We're not entirely sure which pocket dimension everyone got pulled into, or if they were split between the two of them. We'll be splitting up into two teams, each one going into a different pocket dimension. Once inside, it'll be the same mission as last time. Extract all of the survivors, and if possible, kill that bastard. Hmm. Everyone nodded as they got ready for deployment. Within a few minutes, the mini pocket dimension had been breached, and the first team went through. In the mini dimension, they found themselves staring at a bunch of stone structures that had been crumbling away. It was no surprise to them. This was the exact look of the first one. The dimension every time they had breached it. They began investigating the dimension to see if they could find any survivors or any of the demons that were starting this. Mm-hmm. Back in the first dimension, Neil was still jumping from rock to rock, building to building, trying to escape the never-ending birds that were after him, as well as a few other creatures that he hadn't identified yet. He found himself in a large chunk of building. It looks like the birds had a harder time flying around in the buildings, which meant he got a small amount of relief as in terms of the directions they could come from, making it a little easier to fend them off. Building. Hmm. Mhm. He ran past what looked to be a small waterfall falling off of the building outside the windows before he ducked into the larger building itself. It was pretty dark in there, and he couldn't see much. He could feel puddles of water all over the place. He became used to them being only a half-inch deep before he realized that he was completely submerged in a large pool of water. That was terrible. I'll have to fix that later. Um hmm. He scrambled to get out of it, realizing that he would be at a disadvantage in something he couldn't move around as fast. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a light and shone it around. He didn't want to because he was hoping he could hide from the beasts in the dark. But if he fell into another pool of water like that, it could all be over. Looking around, he could see something swimming in the water. Coming towards the last place he had been falling in. That's not good, he said to himself, shining the light around to see if he could find an exit. forgot the name of the one girl in the other group of three. What was her name? Jane. That's what it was. Jane watched as the man behind her was eventually tackled to the ground. His attempts to fend off the monster no longer successful. He tried kicking it away, the monster chewing at his feet with glee. She tripped and collapsed, sliding off of the edge of the building that they were running on. She braced herself for a long fall, not knowing how far she would fall. She was surprised when she found herself gently pressed up against the building, sliding what she believed to be was downwards. But instead she stuck to it as though it was the same ground she had been running on. Confused, she ducked into the building, through one of the windows, hoping to find a hiding place. She crawled into a bunch of rubble, with a cavity just big enough for her to fit in. She covered her ears as she heard the man outside screaming, the sound of a stick smacking against the creature as he fought for his life. Oh. All right, I think that's where I'm going to call it. Goodbye forever. Remember to commit.